He was just a janitor, quietly sweeping floors in a mansion where wealth and privilege ruled every corner. No one noticed him until that night. A lavish party, glittering gowns, and a millionaire's mocking laugh. All focused on one thing: him. "If you dance this waltz, I'll marry you," the millionaire scoffed, thinking it was a joke. But the black boy janitor, who spent his days hidden behind mops and buckets, held a secret talent that no one could imagine. Tonight, everything would change, and what the millionaire didn't know would shock the entire room, and maybe the world. He had always been invisible, a quiet presence moving through marble halls and crystal chandeliers, unnoticed by the wealthy partygoers who floated past him in designer heels and polished shoes. Every day he pushed his mop along the glossy floors, wiped away crumbs that no one would ever thank him for, and heard laughter that wasn't meant for him. Outside the mansion, the world wasn't kind either. He had grown up in a neighborhood where opportunity was scarce and judgment was plenty, where his skin often made people see a stereotype instead of a person. But behind those tired eyes and work-worn hands there was a fire, a relentless, unspoken talent that had carried him through every humiliation and whispered insult. The evening of the party, he had come in the usual way, carrying cleaning supplies, preparing for a night of polished perfection that would leave him unseen. But the universe had a different plan. The millionaire, a man known for arrogance as much as his fortune, was boasting loudly about power, influence, and his ability to control the night. And then, almost cruelly, he pointed at the janitor, his smirk dripping with condescension. "If you dance this waltz, I'll marry you," he declared, imagining it would reduce the boy to embarrassment. The room paused. Eyes glanced. Laughter bubbled up. But what no one realized was that this seemingly ordinary janitor had been practicing dance in secret for years, moving in spaces where no one could watch, where no one could judge. His talent had been nurtured in silence, and now, under the crystal lights and the mocking gaze of the millionaire, it was about to surface. Tonight, he wouldn't just sweep floors. He would sweep away every expectation. The music swelled, a waltz that filled the grand ballroom with elegance and poise, yet every note felt like a challenge thrown directly at him. The janitor's heart pounded, a mix of fear and determination. Around him the guests whispered, some chuckling under their breath, others smirking at what they assumed would be a humiliating spectacle. The millionaire leaned against the marble staircase, arms crossed, confident in his mockery, convinced that the boy would falter, ashamed and retreating back to his shadow. But the janitor stepped forward, straightening his back, feeling the weight of years of invisibility pressing into every movement. As he took the first step onto the polished floor, the room's laughter wavered into curious silence. Each movement was precise yet effortless, flowing from muscles that had memorized countless hours of practice in the unlikeliest of places. A cramped apartment, an empty gymnasium, the echoing streets at dawn. Every twirl and glide defied the assumptions of those who had never really looked at him. Whispers spread through the crowd. Did he just... No way. The millionaire's smirk faltered, a flicker of unease crossing his face. His words had been a weapon meant to ridicule, but instead they had unleashed something beautiful and undeniable. The janitor's body moved with confidence, power, and grace, challenging not only the millionaire's mockery, but every expectation that society had stacked against him. He was no longer the invisible boy cleaning floors. He was the center of attention, commanding the room in a language that required no permission. As the dance continued, envy and awe collided in the eyes of the onlookers. The millionaire tried to regain control, to interrupt, to shame, but the audience was already captivated, caught in the rhythm and brilliance of a talent they had never anticipated. Every spin was a statement, every step a defiance, every glance a reminder that greatness could come from the most overlooked places. By the time the final notes of the waltz echoed across the ballroom, a hush had fallen. Some guests clapped reluctantly, others were stunned into silence, but no one could deny what they had just witnessed. The janitor stood in the center, chest rising and falling, not just victorious in dance, but victorious in visibility, in presence, in breaking a barrier that had kept him unseen for far too long. And while the millionaire's gaze burned with disbelief and wounded pride, the boy had already transcended the mockery. It could no longer touch him. The room held its breath. The music had faded, leaving only the echoes of what had just unfolded, and all eyes were on him. The janitor who had dared to defy expectation, who had turned ridicule into revelation. The millionaire, once smug and untouchable, now stood frozen, a mix of anger, disbelief, and humiliation crossing his face. Every ounce of his pride, every mocking word, had been dismantled by the very boy he had tried to belittle. For a moment, silence ruled, a silence heavy with tension, judgment, and awe. The guests could no longer pretend. They had witnessed something extraordinary, something undeniable. In that stillness, the janitor felt a rush of emotions, relief, triumph, and a quiet, burning pride. He had not only danced, he had made a statement, one that no wealth or status could obscure. He had proven that talent, dedication, and resilience could exist anywhere, even in a place that had never expected greatness from someone like him. The millionaire's voice finally broke through, sharp and trembling, attempting to reclaim dominance, but it was too late. The boy's performance had rewritten the narrative. In the faces of those around him, he saw admiration, shock, and a dawning realization that what they had assumed about him, and about people like him, was wrong. Every smirk, every sneer that had greeted him before, now felt powerless, almost ridiculous, in the glow of his achievement. And then, something shifted. A few guests began clapping, slowly at first, then more fervently. The sound grew until it filled the grand room, a wave of acknowledgement and respect that washed over the janitor. For the first time, he was seen, not as a boy in the shadows, not as a stereotype, not as someone invisible, but as someone extraordinary. The millionaire, humbled and confronted by the undeniable, could only watch. The echoes of applause lingered, but the impact went far beyond the walls of the mansion. That night, the janitor had done more than dance. He had shattered perceptions, confronted prejudice, and revealed a truth that money and status could never hide. Talent, courage, and dignity belonged to no single class, no single race, no single expectation. For him, it was a quiet victory that would resonate forever, a proof that the years of struggle, the whispered insults, the daily invisibility, had not been in vain. The millionaire, humbled and shaken, learned that ridicule could never erase authenticity. But more importantly, the audience, those who had doubted, laughed, and underestimated, witnessed a powerful lesson. Greatness can emerge from the most overlooked places, and the courage to stand tall can inspire change in ways no one anticipates. In that ballroom, a boy who had once felt unseen became a symbol of resilience, a reminder that injustice, mockery, and assumptions can be overturned by talent and self-belief. As the janitor walked away from the spotlight, he carried with him more than recognition. He carried the affirmation that being true to oneself, even when ignored or dismissed, has the power to transform lives. That night wasn't just about a dance. It was about breaking barriers, rewriting narratives, and showing the world that strength often comes quietly, hidden in ordinary spaces, waiting for the right moment to rise. So the next time someone tells you where you belong or what you can't do, remember him. The boy who danced, defied mockery, and claimed a space he had been denied. What could you accomplish if you refused to be invisible? If this story inspired you, hit like, share with your friends, and leave a comment about someone who defied the odds in your life. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that inspire and empower.